You're now watching the Danny Mac Podcast on the Bet Rivers Network.
During these frigid temperatures, we need things that warm the cockles of our hearts as well as our toes. Did the Ben Johnson news conference do those things for you today? Hi, and welcome in. I'm Dan McNeil, and you're listening to and hopefully watching on YouTube this edition, this post-news conference edition of the Danny Mac Podcast, reacting to the news of the day as Ben Johnson meets Chicago and the NFL world. And to prove the disrespect they had for it today nationally, on NFL Network, they carried the first couple minutes of the news conference and then immediately cut to Bills head coach Sean McDermott, who wanted to talk about his injuries. And so I flipped locally to the Fox affiliate, and there he was in his wide-knotted orange tie that was underneath his not-so-navy sport coat. Wasn't the best-looking sport coat Ben Johnson could have purchased or picked out for this day, but the words he chose were much wiser than his predecessor, Matt Eberflus, when he was introduced 3 years ago, earlier this month. When Eberflus stood at the lectern, he looked like a confused man. He didn't sound like a confident man. And he had something going against him the Bears didn't do to Ben Johnson today. Now, part of it is circumstance. They have a general manager in place, Ryan Poles. They didn't when they hired Matt Eberflus. Poles was hired some 38 hours before Eberflus was. They were presented simultaneously. That made it an uncomfortable situation, probably more so for Eberflus, who seemed like a less confident man in a room full of strangers as he was elevated to the biggest job of his life. So was Poles, but he comported himself like he was a big boy in the room, and Eberflus didn't have the it factor. I called that right away 3 years ago. I didn't feel that way today watching Ben Johnson. Now, these are only words, and this was only a news conference, and nothing about being a Bears media member or Bears fan gets more tiring than judging news conferences instead of looking forward to playoff games. That's a tradition that would be welcomed if they would shit can it, is what I want to say. You know, we don't need it anymore to be analyzing words and looking at body language and demeanor and the content of the new head coach. Did he strike you as a leader of men? Well, yeah, he did. He did. And I admit these are not among my favorite football conversations because it's all speculative right now. It's all conjecture, and it's us reading the tea leaves and the tarot cards and just guessing. We don't know. I do like the experience factor he has more so than his predecessors because, number one, it's on the offensive side of the ball, so that gives him the edge over the Flus. And as far as Matt Nagy goes, he had way more experience calling plays because that's what he did. Nagy only did that for a very short time under the great Andy Reid, who's being paid $20 million per annum, the highest salary of any head coach in the NFL. And to the Bears' credit, they kicked in. They did what I didn't expect them to do. So I am praising the organization for stepping outside of its comfort zone and spending what is reported to be near $13 million for Johnson. I didn't think they would get near 10. And if the numbers I saw over the weekend, and it was, I believe, a CBSSports.com story I called up on the highest paid coaches in the NFL. At that time, there were 9 earning $10 million or more. Johnson is the 10th. And there may be a few more who enter the fray before all is said and done because the Raiders still have to hire a head coach, and you never know when somebody gets a new deal. John Harbaugh and his people were working on a new deal prior to their exit in the divisional round, something the fans of the Ravens are tired of, like the Steelers fans are tired of. They get there, and January is so very unkind to both of those AFC North teams. Did anything said by Ben Johnson make you groan today or roll your eyes? think about that for a second, and I'll tell you what made me roll my eyes and shake my head in disgust on one comment. And also, a smile came to my face on another as Ben Johnson went down memory lane regarding his coaching influences. While you're thinking about your answer to the question, let me quickly remind you, if you like wagering on college and pro football, we have a really cool thing here called the Same Game Parlay at Bet Rivers. Play two or more from within the same game, and if you hit, those hits are worth squares that are worth bonus bets, profit boosts, and jackpots of up to $10,000. It's called the Same Game Parlay. Check it out at Bet Rivers. Have some fun this weekend. Whether you've won or lost, your opportunities are winding down here. Only 3 games left because they don't play a Pro Bowl anymore, much to my chagrin. And the last time I watched a Pro Bowl, the Pro Bowl was sullied by the tragic passing of Kobe Bryant. All right, what was said by the new head coach, the native of Charleston, South Carolina? That's where Ben Johnson was born in May of 1986. I love Charleston, underrated American burg. What made me roll my eyes was when he was asked what tipped it in favor of Chicago. Courtney Cronin from ESPN asked him, you had several offers. What tipped it in the Bears' favor? And he quickly responded, people. The people. That's cool. That's fine with me. If Caleb Williams is one of those people, if Ryan Poles is one of them. But you know where I'm going with this. There are some people in the organization I'd rather he not align himself with until he gets to know them better. Because they wear masks, those McCaskies, and they're transfusion McCaskies like Scott Hagel in the front office, who's been reduced to some bizarre position. I don't know, is he director of international media relations? I have no idea. He's way in a different part of campus, which is where he should be. But when he said how much it is a family, that's what so many of us are tired of hearing. And I believe in football as a family because I wore shoulder pads and a helmet once upon a time and briefly coached the game, albeit at the high school level. That taste of it was enough for me to recognize there's a lot of truth to that. Laugh if you want to, call me Uncle Rico and tell me to throw the pigskin over the mountain if I still can. But it's truth. I got a lot out of my high school football experience, and I do believe in that sort of thing. But when it comes to this particular family, it's a family that has a tendency to overstep its boundaries in terms of what it should be doing with the football operations. And nobody wants to hear anything said positively right now about the McCaskies, including a new boss. And we're all happy they paid him the money because this is the people's choice. The Bears did the unexpected and they got the guy most of us thought they wouldn't pay for, or they wouldn't be able to convince to come here, because why wouldn't you go align yourself with Tom Brady, with the Raiders? And I don't know. It was an attractive job because of the people find, and he praised the facilities, and rightfully so. Footnote is it did take them longer than any other team in the division to upgrade their facilities. They were last in the North to do it. They didn't even consider it when free agency became a part of NFL life in 1993. When the ruling came down, the antitrust case, White versus the NFL, and the players won. They already had shovels in the ground in Green Bay. They were preparing for it. They knew the union was not going to go away. And when NFL attorneys told the owners, Plan B isn't going to survive, they're going to win this, some teams and owners reacted positively. Some of them ran. The Dolphins, Joe Robbie didn't want to upgrade his facilities. He sold. The group in Minneapolis, was it Carl Pohlad was one of the owners? They sold to, I believe, Ziggy Wolf at the time became the new owners, and they took forever to upgrade their facilities. They were ahead of the Bears, but the Green Bay Packers started, developing the Hudson Center, a $4.4 million indoor facility with 2 fields and very high ceilings, and they've upgraded it over the years. Green Bay has. Those facilities include a natural grass playing surface, just grass, regular grass, and the actual grass, the artificial surface. I think it's called field turf. It's changed. They've changed it a few times. Natural turf, field turf, certainly markedly better than AstroTurf, which is a reprehensible product. Anyway, Green Bay's did everything it could. The Bears were among the last. They didn't give a shit. Their bubble collapsed in the late 90s. Michael McCaskey didn't want to spend $2.5 million to fix the bubble, so it cost him $10 million instead to get a new one. Didn't want to fix a caving-in roof. So their facilities are great. And it took them a while to get there, but they got there. That's what matters most. It is 2025. It's not 93 anymore. We're long past the onset of free agency, and they do have some cap space this year to spend. It will be on the offensive line as it needs to be. What I wanted to mention about memory lane, where he took us, and I knew this was coming because I learned yesterday that Ben Johnson, among his early influences, former Bears offensive coordinator John Shoop. Shoop. I want to Shoop. John Shoop was a punching bag for Chicago media and Bears fans in the early aughts. He was the offensive coordinator on the division championship team in 0-1. Shoopy was. Shoop's wife and Johnson's wife are very close, and they are close in this manner. And here's a box Ben Johnson checked that probably wasn't talked about by anybody today. At least I didn't hear it. And I caught 95% of the head coach's news conference. Didn't catch everything Poles said afterward. Was happy to see him looking like he's no longer grounded, because the last time we saw the Bears GM interviewed, he looked emasculated. Oh, was he in a bad way? But John Shoop, the OC in 0-1. Fun story for you. I'm on the sideline at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa. The Bears, en route to the 13-win season, were playing the Bucs. Jim Miller and Marty Booker were having themselves a day together. But on the Bears' final possession, while protecting a lead late, Shoop got very conservative. The Bears wound up punting. The Buccaneers get within field goal range, and Martin Gramatica clanks an upright. Bears win as time expires. And being on the Bears sideline for that was kind of hair on the back of your neck, standing up territory for me. I'd had the occasion to do it once in a while in the final couple minutes of a game, but never a game that was, going to be decided on a game-winning field goal. And what happened afterward was the fun part, because the Bears had a running backs coach named Earl Mosley who tried to tackle John Shoop. He went after his boss. He had to be restrained by other assistants and several Bears players because he wanted a piece of Shoopy. He definitely wanted a piece of the guy who caused the Bears to have to kick, and that was John Shoop. He never earned anybody's affection in this town. Earl Mosley, I'd forgotten the name. I texted Jim Miller during the news conference, and he was nice enough while prepping for his show on Sirius XM to get back to me. Yeah, that was Earl Mosley. But the connection Shoop's wife has with Ben Johnson's wife is their spiritual connection. This was what was not mentioned today, where I was going a second ago, was the box that was checked for the matriarch, Virginia McCaskey, is Ben Johnson is a Bible thumper. I have no problem with that as long as he's ready to be a red ass. He didn't strike me as a guy today who's afraid to get in a player's face. He looks like the boy next door. I mean, he's very young at 38. He looks young. He doesn't strike you as a man who's intimidating physically, but he's got coach's eyes, those kind of eyes that see through you when you've done something wrong. and can find your every flaw and every transgression you've ever made your entire life. You feel like they're looking at you as they look through you, those steely eyes. Ben Johnson's got those eyes, which don't mean everything because Dick Duran had him, and he wasn't a very good head coach either. But I liked what I saw. I got the words I needed to get today. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. The message Johnson has for his players. I like that. That's how it should be. It's how it should be on any team, let alone one that won only 5 games last year. But similar words were chosen in the offseason by the general manager when he said, it's not going to be easy to make this football team. It might have been in the past, setting the tone going into the offseason workouts. Yeah, not everyone's making this roster. Some of you won't be here. Some of these guys won't be here. Yeah. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. Okay, let's bring it. Let's go get some guys who can protect this lad, Caleb Williams, and figure out something to do with a pass rush. I heard yesterday that Josh Sweat is in play. Get as much sweat as you can out there. Pay the Sweat Factory $120 million per, for the length of their deals, because Montez got 98 mil though, about 25 a year, I believe, was the math on that. I can't remember when they escalated a little bit. I think he earned 24 million this year, or was paid 24. Not so sure he earned it. He didn't have a great season. A lot of them didn't. So that's the challenge too. He's supposed to be bringing Dennis Allen to town with him, and he likes the fact that his assistants will have head coaching experience, and I like the idea of him and Poles spending a lot of time together over the next several weeks to evaluate the talent as they get ready to start thinking about the combine and free agency in that order. I want to thank you for watching this post-news conference edition of the Danny Mac Podcast. Adam Delavitt runs the show at the Bet Rivers Podcast Network. My executive producer is Sam Michael. When we get our guests, those A-listers are found by Randy Merkin, one of the best in the business, Troy Mocker and Alex Pastor behind the scenes. Thank you for a job well done. I'm Dan McNeil. Take care.